video bit, it's black in there. Can't see anything. Yeah. Steve, can you open your video tab a little bit? Steve said, John, it's dark in there, man. We're going to get sun, guys, settle. That's good. There, Steve, you got it. Done. Excellent. Call it, guys, we're rolling.
I was using Man on Fire, which is a book that I had read very early in my career, to pitch to other writers for other projects. I was pitching them why this was a great character and we should try to emulate this character in other projects. And at some point I woke up and I realized, you know, I should just make Man on Fire. I should just remake that movie. It's such a great story. I can never duplicate the character relationships that I was so interested in. And I was really taken with the book. And when it was the right time, we set out to do that.
Action, dude!
Man on Fire 22 years ago, and then Italy was the kidnap capital it's based on a real life character, on a true story.
Tony had developed Man on Fire before it was made. When it was originally a book, he had developed it in between his first movie, The Hunger, and his next movie, Top Gun.
I wanted to do it then, and people didn't think I could do it, didn't think I could handle performance and that's sort of the emotionality of the story.
I was talking to Tony about another project, and he asked me what I was working on, and I said, I'm working on this thing, Man on Fire, and he said, I was the original director of that movie, and I said, you're kidding, you know, I have a script, you should read it.
I got called by Sanford Panich, who works at New Regency, asking me if I would read the book for Man on Fire. He said that to me, and I said, I know that title, but I couldn't place it, and he said it had been made into a film once before with Scott Glenn. And the weird thing was when I used to live in by LAX, and the video store I used to go to was the one Quentin Tarantino worked at. And one time I was in there when Quentin Tarantino still worked in the video store, and I asked him what was a good movie to rent, and he told me I should watch Man on Fire with Scott Glenn, which is how I had seen the movie in the first place.
We talked about a kind of different version of the movie from the one that I had developed, taking the character but sort of treating it a different way. And Tony had a history of developing scripts and had a mature idea of how he thought these characters should be and whatever. And I had learned some things from developing it as well. So we ended up hiring Brian Helgeland to write what became the greenlit draft of the movie.
I used to just be a screenwriter, but I've switched over to directing, so I don't really write anymore. And he had said that, you know, Tony Scott's going to direct it, and I didn't know Tony, but I was like, I'm not really in the mood to write for somebody else. And he said, well, just look at it, you know, just read the book, because the book's a lot different than the movie. And I read the book, and I liked the book even more, but I wanted to direct it myself, basically. And Sanford told me that if Tony passed and didn't want to do it, because he had another movie that he was maybe going to do, that they'd put me on as the director. So I don't know if that was a lie or not, but I believed him, and so I wrote the script hoping Tony would say no so that I could direct it, but it didn't work out that way.
The original screenplay was what actually fired me up again. It was by Brian Helgeland, and it was fantastic, but it was set in Italy. But Brian's emotional beats and the structure of the script were fantastic, and the characters are fantastic, but I didn't want to do it in Italy because I felt it was a period piece.
The book was written in the early 70s when kidnapping was a very big deal in Europe and in Italy in particular.
Then the bad guy in the movie was the Godfather, which was he controlled kidnapping in Italy. And in this day and age, kidnapping is, and especially in Mexico and South America, is a huge business.
Tony wanted to bring the story into today's time. It was a story that was apparently a true story that happened in the 70s in Milan in Italy, and it was an American bodyguard who ended up being hired by a Milanese industrialist. If you take a look today at kidnapping in Italy, you'll find there might be 5 or 6 in the whole year. Yet in other parts of the world, there's an epidemic.
We knew it was a big issue, and we were looking for a place where culturally it made sense for the story. And we decided, based on some of the true stories that we heard, that Mexico had a kind of an immediacy and a kind of a culture that we in the West can really access. We really identify with it. So we ended up deciding to change the movie to Mexico, even though we had already started to prepare the film in Italy. And we had hired a production designer, and we'd taken photos, and we were scouting. But we made this shift, and it's had a major impact on, I think, the intensity of the story. It just feels like we're in the right place, making the right movie about the right topic at the right time.